It is the Blitz, 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, and the new ESPN San Antonio app. Eric Messersmith in for Dat Win. I'm Jason Minix, and let's get right to the Office Furniture Express hotline and talk with Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Coach, we'll start with Tony Romo. You know, that's the big story. Can you give us the latest on Tony and a timetable for his return?
Well, Tony broke his collarbone last night in the ball game. It's his left collarbone. It's his non-throwing shoulder, and we had additional examinations today on him, and there was no further damage beyond just the break in the clavicle. So there was no ligament damage or any muscle damage around that shoulder. So that was a good thing. These things do take time to heal. We all hesitate to put an exact timetable on it, but we think it's about a 6, 8, 10-week injury, so it's probably right in that 8-week range. That's probably the most accurate description we can give right now of when he can be back. So we'll take it day by day. If we get any further information, we'll certainly let everybody know, but that's where we are right now.
Does it help that it's his non-throwing shoulder? Does that speed up the recovery time?
Oh, I don't know that it speeds up the recovery time, but, once he gets back, he needs his right arm to be more functional than his left arm. So I think that's certainly a positive thing for us. You'd rather keep that right arm and that right shoulder as injury-free as possible. But again, I think as much as anything else, this is about the bone healing, and it's not really about a player's toughness to come back. Oftentimes a player will be able to come back maybe sooner than another player because he's tougher, or he heals quicker, all those kinds of things. But this is simply about giving it time to allow the bone to heal, and there are ways to measure whether it's fully healed, and we'll go through that process. He had a very similar injury in the 2010 season, so he's been down this road before, and we'll try to handle it the right way.
Coach, when this Eric Messersmith here, good to talk to you. When Dez Bryant got hurt, you guys elected not to use the IR designated to return. You still have that available. Is that something you might do with Romo, or he could come back after 8 weeks?
Yeah, we've had a lot of those discussions today, and really it's a combination of the conversations we have among the staff and our personnel people and the executives in our organization, along with our training staff and the doctors who are treating Tony. And we've had a lot of discussions up to this point already. We'll continue to have those. That's certainly a viable option for us, and we'll try to make our best decision here in the next couple days.
Coach Jason Garrett with us here on ESPN San Antonio, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Brandon Whedon will move into the starting job. Who's going to be the backup now?
Well, Kellen Moore is on our practice squad right now, as is Jamil Showers. So we'll work through that conversation as well. Kellen's only been here for a couple of weeks. We do have a lot of confidence in him. He was with Coach Linehan in Detroit for 3 years, and he has a real comfort level with our system. Has not played in NFL games, but is an experienced guy, in the system, has played well in the preseason, played a lot in college, had 53 starts at Boise State. So we feel good about him. And Showers has been with us right now, so we'll evaluate those guys, see where they fit. We'll also evaluate other possibilities, from around the league as this thing unfolds here the next few days.
Now, obviously, Coach, I'm sure you saw even Greg Abbott, our governor, tweeted maybe Tim Tebow. A lot of people call the show and suggest Tim Tebow. Can you put those rumors to rest for us?
Well, we don't want to talk about any specific players. Everybody is on the landscape, and we look for anybody who we think can try to help our team. And this doesn't only apply to the quarterbacks; it applies to everybody. And we'll add players each week to our team if we feel like they can help us. And in a situation when you have an injury, all hands are on deck. So everybody's a viable option. We're going through those discussions right now as to who we want to bring in, if we want to bring anybody in to work out, and we'll get the guys we have on the roster ready to go.
The fact that it's the quarterback position, does that make it more difficult to bring in somebody that hasn't been through training camp and practice and really know the system? Does that make it harder to bring in maybe an unsigned quarterback right now that hasn't been with you before, or even make a trade?
Well, I would say it's probably the most challenging position to do that, but it's certainly been done before. And, we really try to pride ourselves on having a system that's player-friendly, a system that our players can learn quickly. And we do that for a lot of different reasons, but this certainly would be one of the reasons why. And, typically quarterbacks are smart guys. They pick things up quickly. They learn systems quickly. So, we would be mindful of the challenges if we brought a guy in from the outside of learning the system quickly, but hopefully our system is right, and hopefully the guy would be right that he could do that. But again, we're focused on the guys we have on our roster, Brandon Whedon and Kellen Moore and Jamil Showers. We'll try to get those guys ready to go, and we'll figure out anybody else we're bringing in as we go along.
Coach, turning to the Des Bryant injury, Fox had a report yesterday that he's going to be out for 10 to 12 weeks. That's obviously a lot more than the initial time frame. What is the latest on how long you guys expect Des might be out?
Yeah, that's why we're careful about putting weekly designations on when a guy's going to return. Des broke a bone in his foot. The doctors put a screw in that foot. The surgery was successful, and now from that point on, we just take it day by day. And any speculation on his status based on the history of anybody else in football, outside of football, have had with this injury, it really has no bearing on Des. And we do anticipate him being back in that whatever that time frame is, 6 weeks or so. That's what we initially reported. All that stuff is speculation. It's based on the experience our doctors have had in the past with this kind of an injury. But nothing's hard and fast, and nothing has changed since the initial reports after the surgery. So we're optimistic that Des can be back sooner rather than later. We're excited about getting him back. The biggest thing for him to do is go through his rehab and do everything he can to get himself ready to play as quickly as possible.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett with us here on ESPN San Antonio. As you look at the foreseeable future with Brandon Whedon as the starting quarterback, how different do you guys have to prepare the offense? I mean, what are we going to notice that is very different with Tony Romo not in there?
Oh, I don't know that you'll notice that much of a difference in our system. We're going to try to run the football. We're going to try to throw the football. Attack a defense a lot of different ways. And, Brandon's very capable. Brandon started games in this league in Cleveland. He started for us in the past. He's come into games for us over the last couple of years, and he's done well. So, it's his responsibility to go in there and play at a high level. And we have high expectations for him, just like we would for any player going in. And he prepares well. He's gotten a lot of work in our system, and like I said, he did a good job in the work that he got yesterday up there in Philadelphia. Made a big throw at the end of the game to seal the game for us. So we have a lot of confidence in him. His teammates have a lot of confidence in him, and we anticipate him just running our system.
Coach, through 2 games, your defense is 3rd in the league in yards against. 2 years ago, of course, you had one of the worst defenses in that category in the history of the NFL. What's the biggest reason for the dramatic improvement on your defense in the last 2 years?
Oh, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. I think it's getting our system of football in place. It's getting the kind of players that we want to run the system of football in place. It's a coaching staff who coaches every detail as hard as possible, and we try to get all of the basic fundamentals of playing good defense across to our players on a daily basis, so it shows up in the game. And then I think we've improved up front. I think we've improved at the linebacker position. I think we've improved at the back end with the personnel we've chosen, guys we've drafted, guys we've brought in from other teams. And it's a combination of all those factors, and I thought they did an outstanding job in this game yesterday against a good offensive football team. Did a really good job slowing down their run, making them one-dimensional, and then making some plays on the ball in the passing game. So it was a heck of an effort by them to give us a great chance to win that ball game.
Jason Garrett, Cowboys head coach here on ESPN San Antonio, and I know the Romo injury overshadows what a great defensive performance he had yesterday. You get a special teams touchdown offensively, some struggles getting into a flow at times. Even Troy Aikman said on the broadcast it was hard to watch because of all the penalty flags. Does that make it harder to coach when you just can't get into flow when there's a flag, it seems like, on every play?
Well, there's no question that the penalties were the story of the game for the offense, and we had 18 penalties as a team, and 13 of them on offense. And we have to do a better job not allowing those penalties to happen. A week ago we had 3 penalties, so obviously this game got away from us, and we didn't handle a lot of different things in the game as well as we needed to. Obviously, when you're on the road, you're dealing with crowd noise. We had 6 pre-snap penalties, false starts, or procedural penalties that hurt us. And you can talk all you want about the officiating, but that stuff is on us, and we simply have to do a better job in those areas. And really, to the essence of your question, when you make those penalties, it is hard to get into a rhythm, because you're at 1st and 15, or you're 1st and 20, or 2nd and 12, and all these different situations that you have to overcome within a drive. You can't get that balance and that rhythm that you want to have. So at times when we eliminated the penalties, we're able to hold the ball on drives, convert some of those third down situations to keep drives alive and go down and get some points. So we obviously want to play that way. We want to minimize the mistakes, and that'll be a point of emphasis this week in practice.
After the injury to Romo, Jerry Jones said he was, and I'm quoting here, as low as a crippled cricket's ass. Coach, what was your mood? Were you in that same position when you found out what was wrong with Romo?
Well, obviously, we're disappointed. Tony's one of the real leaders on our team. He's one of the best players at his position in the NFL, and he's had such a positive impact on our team. But he has a great mindset and a mentality. He understands this is what happened, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So now we got to do the things necessary to get back as quickly as we can. And in the meantime, we got to rally around. Brandon Whedon's going to come be our quarterback, and everybody else has got to rally around him. And we got to play well as a team, and Tony understands that. Our team understands that. So, the one thing you got to be careful of doing is being disappointed or living in the past a little bit. You have to move forward as quickly as you can, get on to the next challenge. Tony has to get his rehab and get back as quickly as he can, and we're really just getting back to work and having our eyes forward and our focus forward.
Who is the emergency quarterback?
We have a lot of different options in that area. We've worked on snapping the ball to the running backs, and Cole Beasley has been a quarterback in the past, and so a lot of different options. We're hopeful that we don't get to that point, but sometimes those are scenarios that happen, so you have to be ready.
Hey, Coach, how would you assess your team's running game through 2 games?
Oh, I think we've done a good job at times. Other times we haven't done as good a job, and we can see that on tape. When we do things the right way, typically the result's pretty good, and when we don't, typically the result reflects that as well. And a couple of things have happened in the first couple games. In the first game against the Giants, we found ourselves in essentially 4 2-minute drives, 2 before the half and 2 at the end of the ball game. So it was harder for us to get into a rhythm with our running game, when we're in those situations. In the game yesterday, we talked about it already. We got behind the chains a lot because of the penalties. And again, it was similarly hard. They were committed to stopping the run yesterday. They wanted to make sure that that they put pressure on our ability to run the football by committing a lot of guys to the box and making us beat them in the passing game, with the absence of Des Bryant. So I do think it was a challenging environment to run the football, and we did some good things in that environment, but we still have to strive to get better, and that'll be a big part of our team and our offensive success going forward, is the ability to control the line of scrimmage and run the ball.
Out of curiosity, what did you say to Dan Bailey after his penalty for touching DeMarco Murray?
Well, I just asked him what happened, and I didn't see it when it happened live at the game, and it was one of those situations where it happens probably 25 times a game where an opposing team guy carrying the football comes and crosses into our sideline area. So apparently the officials didn't like what Dan did to DeMarco, and they threw the flag. So Dan certainly didn't mean anything by it. I think as much as anything else, he was trying to hold him up. But the officials didn't see it that way. So you just move on, and our defense did a good job after that happened, going down and getting a stop. I think that was the drive that Sean Lee had the interception in the end zone. So it ended up working out well for us. But I guess we got to be a little more careful when those guys come into our sideline area.
Yeah, getting a penalty on your kicker in that situation is probably one that you never thought you'd have to answer questions about, right?
Yeah, it's a first for me. I'd never seen that penalty called before.
Good deal. Coach Jason Garrett, I know it's a extremely busy day for you. Appreciate you carving out some time for us. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. I always enjoy it, guys. Have a great week.
Appreciate it. Coach Jason Garrett, every Monday brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds, 225-2121, 225-2121, or online at mybestbailbonds.com.